I have such a treat for you today. We are making Himmelstorte. It's a German cake, which means heaven cake, which is so appropriate because it literally is like a slice of heaven. This is also known as Blitztorte, goes by many names, but whatever you call it, it is so good. You guys are gonna love it. It's such a unique cake. My husband and I tried this on an anniversary trip and we fell in love. And I'm gonna show you how to make it. And I'm craving cake, so let's get started. We'll do some quick prep. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, then butter the bottom and sides of 2 9-inch cake pans. You can also use springform pans because those release even easier, but cake pans work great if that's what you have on hand. The purpose of the buttering is so that the parchment paper will stick easier to the pans. We're gonna line the bottom with a round of parchment paper, then cut some parchment paper into strips to line the sides. Lining the pans is an important step because it'll prevent your cake and meringue from sticking to the cake pan. Also, if you love to bake, it is such a treat to have these pre-cut rounds of parchment paper. They do save some time and make baking that much easier. I will definitely link to that and all the tools I'm using in the recipe notes. You'll also need to add just a little bit more butter between the parchment paper sheets where they overlap. Set those aside and we're gonna start working on our cake batter. In a large mixing bowl, combine 10 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter with 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. Cream those together on medium-high speed for about 1 minute. Next, we're gonna separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. I'm using 4 large room temperature eggs. Because we're going to be using those egg whites to make a meringue, it's very important that you don't get any egg yolk in the whites, so be sure to separate those carefully. I'm gonna give my hands a quick rinse, and now it's time to add the yolks one at a time to that creamed butter mixture. With the mixer on, add the yolks, beating well with each addition. You want those yolks to incorporate before you add the next one. Once all of the yolks are in, beat until everything is really well combined. Now add a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and of course we're using our homemade vanilla. It's just 2 ingredients, so easy to make, and I will link to this in the recipe notes. Beat the vanilla in just until it's incorporated. Now in a separate small bowl, we're gonna combine all-purpose flour with baking powder and some salt. Whisk those together just until they're well combined, then add them to the butter mixture. Start mixing on medium-low speed, just so you don't end up with flour all over the place, and continue mixing until it's well incorporated. Now scrape down the bowl as needed to make sure everything is blending together well. Now while mixing, drizzle in your milk. Also, I am using room temperature milk because it does incorporate easier. Even after you add the milk, the batter should still be pretty thick. Now it's time to divide that batter evenly between your 2 prepared cake pans, and I love to use a kitchen scale for this just to make sure that the batter is really even in each pan. A kitchen scale isn't completely necessary, but it does ensure that your cake doesn't end up lopsided and that the layers bake evenly. This is my favorite kitchen scale. I love how the little display screen scoots out, just in case you have a larger or bulkier item on top that can often cover it up. Of course, I will link to this scale in the notes. I've used it for years and it's still going strong. Spread the batter evenly over the bottom of each pan. It's not a lot of batter, so it almost seems like it's not gonna be enough, but it's supposed to be a thin layer and it will spread out. Just work at it until you get there. Alright, the cake base is ready and it's time to make the meringue. I love using my stand mixer with the whisk attachment because I think it's a lot more efficient at making a meringue, and it's easier because it's more hands-off for me. Make sure your bowl and your attachment are super clean without any oil or grease on them. Add the egg whites to the mixing bowl and beat on medium speed until the whites are foamy. Now increase to medium-high speed and add a pinch of salt. Now gradually add your powdered sugar, letting it incorporate with each addition. Adding it slowly helps it incorporate into the meringue better and also ensures that you don't end up in a cloud of powdered sugar. Scrape down the sides of the bowl to catch any pockets of sugar, then continue beating on medium-high speed for another 2 to 3 minutes or until you see almost stiff peaks form. When it's done, the meringue should be thick, smooth, and glossy. You also don't want to overbeat this mixture or the meringue can get a little dry. We're looking for peaks that are nearly stiff but not quite there. Divide the meringue evenly over your cake pans, and again, a kitchen scale comes in handy to make sure our layers are even. I like to make sure we have every last drop of meringue for really tall, impressive layers. Spread the meringue evenly in the cake pans. The meringue definitely doesn't have to be perfect, just go to the edges. Now we're gonna take the back of a spoon and create grooves and peaks in the meringue. I do this with both pans, that way I can pick whichever one looks prettier after it's baked for the top. Next, sprinkle about a 1/4 cup of sliced almonds over each layer. Transfer the layers to your preheated oven and bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit in the center of the oven for 30 minutes. When it's done, the meringue and almonds will be golden. The meringue should be a little bit crisp at the edges but won't be fully dried out. You'll see the cake rise quite a bit in the oven, but it will deflate when you take it out and it cools, and that's totally normal. Transfer those to a wire rack and let them cool completely to room temperature in their pans. Once those have cooled, we can start working on our raspberry whipped cream filling. In a large deep bowl, combine your cold heavy whipping cream, and that should be chilled right out of the fridge, along with some sugar and vanilla extract. For a more stable whipped cream, I like to beat that on a slower speed first and increase as it starts to thicken. Start beating on medium speed for 2 minutes, then increase to medium-high speed and beat for another 2 to 3 minutes or until stiff peaks form. With whipped cream, make sure you don't overbeat or it will turn buttery. Set aside a handful of raspberries for your cake topping and fold most of the raspberries into your whipped cream. Fold until the raspberries are incorporated, and that's all there is to it. Now it's time to put this cake together. Use a cake release tool or a small plastic knife to run around the edges of your cake to loosen it up from the pan. Springform pans do make this process easier to release from the pans, but not everyone has 2 springform pans lying around, so I'm going to show you how to do this with cake pans. Once the cakes are nice and loose, take a look at the top and decide which one is prettier and going to be the top of your cake. The less pretty one we'll use for the bottom. You'll need a cake stand. Start by inverting the bottom layer gently over your hand. It should pop out easily. Now flip it over onto your cake stand. Cover that bottom layer with all of your raspberry whipped cream. Spread the whipped cream evenly over the top. It's going to be a gorgeous and thick layer of cream. I like to use an offset spatula to smooth out the sides of the cream to keep them flush with the bottom of the cake. Invert the top cake layer onto your hand the same way, then put it over your cream with the meringue side up. That's how I feel every time I make this cake. Actually, the last time I made 2 and 30 people ate it and everybody loved this cake. You have to try it. It's such a special cake. I call it the celebration cake because that's what it is. Oh, to finish it off, we're just gonna give it a nice dusting of powdered sugar because there's just frosting inside, so to make it real pretty, we're gonna dust, dust, dust. Add as much as you like. It's just a little crown of sugar on top. It looks real pretty. Dazzling. And then add some of those reserved fresh raspberries. Whoops, don't drop them on the floor. Over the top. It's just so pretty and vibrant with the fresh raspberries. And there's already a lot of raspberries in this cake, which you will love. That combination of sweet and soft and chewy and crunchy, and everything about this cake is so good. Okay, you can dive right into it. You don't have to wait. You don't need to rest it. And if you do want to make this cake ahead of time, like if you wanted to make 2 to serve to 30 people, you can totally make it the night before. Just keep everything separate. So I like to make the 2 layers, let them cool to room temperature, cover them very loosely. You don't want to trap any moisture, and let them rest overnight, and then just make the cream and assemble before serving. Easy peasy. Let's just cut right into this because I want cake. I hope this becomes a new favorite cake for you. I knew I had to recreate it when I tried it on our anniversary trip. Okay, here we go. I love the little crunch from the almonds on top. Okay, dun dun dun. Get a nice big generous piece here. That's my sample. Cook's sample, they call it. Actually, this says Ash Grove cement. I don't know if this is actually a cake server. I'm pretty sure it was like thrifted or hand-me-down. I hope it's not a cement spatula, you know, whatever those are called. But it works for my cake. I've never used it for cement. Okay, so there's that. Oh my gosh, look at this. You see all those raspberries in the cream? I'm like so excited, my mouth is watering. Look at those beautiful cake layers. I love the little layer of meringue right there. Oh, it's so yummy. Let's just serve this up and take a bite. It's fresh raspberry cake. Himmelstorte. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. I hope I didn't get that totally wrong. But let's have a little slice of heaven cake, why don't we? Here we go. The moment I've been waiting for, and look how soft and delicate and amazing this cake is. You're gonna enjoy every bite of this. Wow. It's not too sweet. It's lightly sweet, just perfectly sweet is what I would call it. I love the combination of textures here. You've got that lightly sweetened whipped cream loaded with juicy raspberries, and then this nice yellow cake layer is really soft and airy, and then that little strip of meringue on top I think is what really makes this cake so special, because that's sweet too, and the crunchy nuts that are in 2 layers here. It's just such a special cake, and it looks fancy but really isn't overly complicated to make. It really is a celebration cake. If you love this cake, make sure you check out our popular cake right over there. Let me know in the comments where you spotted Sharky, and also if you have any recipe suggestions for me, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Also, if you love desserts, our new cookbook has an amazing dessert chapter, all dedicated to your sweet tooth. You're gonna find some really great new treasures in there. I will leave a link to this in the notes. Make sure you get your copy, and we'll see you on the next episode of Natasha's Kitchen.